Hello everybody, welcome back to the 12 days of quick games. I think we're on day 5 now. I don't know why I don't have this pulled up before starting to talk, but we're definitely on day 5, December 29th, 2019. We're almost at the end of 2019, and the series does carry over onto 2020. But what is the series? If you're not familiar, here on Reality Escape, my name is Ghostboy259. I do all the things here. We have a series called Quick Game, Quick Thoughts, where I play a game for roughly an hour, hour and a half, and these games are pretty much free flash games, mobile games, browser games, something that you guys can play at home. Try to break it down for you guys after playing for an hour, hour and a half, and today we are playing, I don't know how to pronounce this game, Maganic, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Maganic Wars or Maganic Wars. So I really don't know. Anyway, this is a online card game, and by online I mean you're playing an NPC. You're playing a computer. It's not online. You can play someone else. That would be cool though, but I don't think it would work out, and you'll understand once we get into the mechanics of it. However, Maganic Wars is so I was a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan growing up. I still am a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan, although admittedly I haven't kept up with all the new rules in the last 10 years or so. So my version of Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty old school compared to someone who had just been getting into Yu-Gi-Oh in the last 5 or 10 years. However, this was a card game that was online. It wasn't exactly like Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, I would say it's not even comparable, but it's one of those fun little games that kind of gives you that same feeling of placing down cards, doing damage. You have your counter, your opponent has yours, and it's all about just playing them in the right order. So, how do we play? You have 5 cards each, and you kind of share a deck. Now, I don't really know how exactly the deck works. You can't customize your deck, so it's all just the random cards that are in there. So a huge part of this game is just luck of the draw. Whatever you happen to get is whatever you happen to get. Every time you beat a level, you unlock a new card. Your opponent also unlocks a new card. So something to keep in mind is every time you get better, your opponent also gets better. As for AI, I don't actually think the computer does anything differently AI or plays better necessarily. I think it's just the combination that they have the same health as you, which you get more health, and then they have better cards, so the game lasts a little bit longer. So how does the game work? Basically, you will select a card, you will hit that cool little orby button in the middle, and then you'll play your card. And the cards can do a variety of things. They can do damage to your opponent, they can increase your rune power, your counter strike, your shield, your attack power, you can poison your opponent. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and we'll break it down in just a moment here. As you can see also on the field, there's this little bar full of symbols, and that is really kind of an important part of the game because all these symbols mean something. So if your opponent paralyzes you, your next card will not work, and there will be a symbol up for that. You can be cursed and have your defense lowered. You can be poisoned, and when you put your mouse over these symbols, it'll actually tell you what the change is. So the little red orb on the very right there is attack. So if I were to use say lightning damage 7, and I put my mouse over that little circle and I had used spells to make it so that my attack was at a +3, then I would do, in theory, 10 damage. Now, he might have a shield that makes it so he does less. That's always an option. But that's kind of the gist of it. It's all these very small basic numbers. So suddenly you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have all these big massive numbers, and it's kind of like that, but on a smaller, lighter scale. Next to that, you have your shield. I'm not sure exactly how this shield works. The other thing that I will mention about these is that there is no real way to tell how long these things last for, because they don't last forever. It's not like when you activate a +3 attack card that your attack remains at +3 for the rest of the game. They do run out, but I don't know how to tell. The line next to them kind of changes throughout, so I think maybe the smaller the line is, the closer it is to running out, but I can't really confirm that for sure. And there's a lot of other things that are kind of going on, so one thing about this is that I'm very iffy on how the game is actually played, but I still enjoy it, which I think is a good sign, because I can still win, I can still enjoy it without 100% understanding what's going on. So next to the shield, you have your counter strike. So basically, that'll be a value between 1 and 6. I think 6 is the highest I've ever seen a single number go, but I'm only at level 6 gameplay-wise, so maybe that's why, because maybe they get higher as you go on. And so basically anytime you take damage, you will automatically counter strike with that much damage. So if it's, and I don't think the opponent's shield affects that. I might be mistaken though. Next to that you have poison. Poison is the worst because when you have a poison card, it'll basically say like 4+1, for example. And so that 4 will be 4 damage to your opponent, and then that +1 will be how much damage poison does each turn. And poison is awful. I think the highest I've seen at this point is +3, and it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it is definitely annoying, and if you have like a cure poison card, you're gonna want to use it. Next thing to that is your, I think it's curse or paralysis. Paralysis is very interesting because you play your cards one at a time, so you know when your opponent plays his paralysis card, you basically have to give up a card. You know that it's going to be nulled and voided. And so in theory, technically he knows that too, but based off of some of the things the AI has done when I've paralyzed it, I don't think it's actually capable of thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm being paralyzed, so let's get rid of the cards. The last thing on the very left for us, on the top right for their bar, is the rune power. And the rune power basically makes you stronger. You'll have these cards that will increase your rune power, and there are 3 different levels to rune power, each one doing better and better. The thing that's interesting about rune power is that I could not tell you exactly what it does. And I don't know why I can't tell you what it does. It seems to make everything better. I think it makes it so that your modifiers, if you want to call them that, your modifiers can go higher. So I think that like if normally the max you could go is like a +3 for attack, then I think it increases that to like +6 or like +8 or something ridiculous like that. It definitely makes you stronger and it definitely makes you better. But how, it's not explicitly said. There's a little instruction screen on the very first frame of the game when you go to like instructions, and it kind of tells you some stuff, but it doesn't straight up say what does rune power do. All I know is that it's a good thing and you want to have it and you don't want your opponent to have it. As I said before, every time that you finish a level, you get a new card for the deck, and these cards are very, very powerful. You'll have some that are like drain health, so draining being you lose 9, I gain 9. And then it will also like increase your defense or increase your attack. There's one that just automatically gives you max rune power right away, which is pretty handy, especially if you can get that near the beginning. There's one that's called Hell Gauntlets, where you drain 6 from your opponent, and then you also have a shield +6. You can drain your opponent's rune power, so you get these very powerful cards as you continue to move up levels. The only thing being, once again, of course, is that your opponent also has access to these same cards. The other thing you can do is in between games, there are items that you can buy. These items are somewhat helpful, but not the most helpful in the entire world. Basically, you have a stone, which makes it so you can't be poisoned or cursed, so that's kind of nice. Now, I haven't actually had the opportunity to use it because I honestly, when I'm in the middle of a game, I tend to forget to open up my menu. You have a ball, and if you use it, you can see what your opponent has in their hand. You have a ring, which makes you invisible for 2 turns, so I assume that means you can't be hit for 2 turns. You have a leaf, so that if you die, you will not actually die. And then you have a little, I think it's like beans or something, and it gives you 20 hit points. Now, the way that this game works in terms of buying things is very, very interesting because you buy things using your score. But if you play poorly and still win, you can have a negative score. So your score fluctuates. Your score is not based off of... It's not like gold. You don't get a certain amount of gold at the end of every game. It's using your active score. So at one point I had negative $233 and I couldn't buy anything. Then I went back, I had a good score, I bought stuff, came back with an even higher score, bought stuff, came back, there was nothing to buy, but I had a lower score than I had before. So it's a very weird, unique, kind of interesting little way that they've done that. Not that I'm complaining, I just think it's very interesting. At the very beginning, there is some cheats that you can enter, and I don't know any personally, I'm sure you could Google it, and then on the menu where you actually buy stuff, there is a number written on the back wall, which I'm sure is probably a cheat code of sorts. Beyond that, I think the one thing this game is really missing is like a deck builder where you can actually choose the cards that you have, but I can also see why doing it RNG is a lot easier and a lot faster. It fastens the process of the game a little bit. Basically, you don't have an option of what cards you get. It's just up to you on how you play them. And it is pretty even with the AI. You can get some games that go like a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes long, especially later down the road. If everything just turns out to be even, you guys are zapping each other's rune energy, you're doing, these lightning strikes that are like 18 damage each, and then healing 15 or 10 or something ridiculous like that. Every time you get all these bonuses, he dispels them, and then you activate a shield, and he paralyzes you. So there really is a lot of back and forth. And as I said at the beginning of the game, it isn't an online multiplayer, and I don't think it would work without a deck builder. If you could build a deck and then go online with it, that would be really cool. But that would essentially be creating your own trading card game. And I don't know the person who created this game back in 2004 was, but they probably weren't that, I don't want to say they're not knowledgeable on how to do stuff, because they obviously made a really good game here. I actually really enjoy this, and I played this quite a bit over the years. But, adding a deck builder, adding online connectivity, suddenly you have all these balancing rules and stuff. It becomes a whole new thing. And while that would be really cool, I can see why just having this little versus the AI is also very fun. I'm almost certain that some of you out there have most likely played this. When you originally look at it on onemoreLevel.com, it's a cool guy with a sword, and you're like, oh, I want to play that game. Then you find out it's a card game, and you're either extremely disappointed or extremely hyped up for it. So, as I said, as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, it basically feels like a very, very, very abbreviated version of that, but it gives me like these nice old nostalgic vibes of like, what card do I play down? Come on, Heart of the Cards, I need something good here. And I hope that you guys, if you have played it, enjoyed it as much as I have. Let me know in the comments down below if you played this game, if you enjoyed this game. If you understand some of the mechanics that I'm unsure about, like the rune power and stuff, feel free to let me know, because I'm genuinely curious and I honestly don't know. I know that I could look stuff up online, but the whole idea for this show is to give you guys my honest first impressions and unscripted thoughts, so I try not to taint my view of that too much online by looking up stuff. If I don't know something, if the information is not available, I try to convey that to you guys, and generally if someone is more knowledgeable out there, they always let me know, so I appreciate that. As always, guys, I hope you're having a good December, almost into the new year. 2019 is almost over, but we'll be back tomorrow. We're doing 12 videos in 12 days. If you want to leave a comment down below, let me know what games you want me to play. Let me know if you played this game, and as always, the link is in the description, so if you want to go play the game for yourself, I highly recommend it. This one's really fun. Even if you only play for like 5 or 10 minutes, it really gives you the feel for what you're doing, and also shows you how confusing the gameplay can be sometimes. I hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. I know I say that at the end of every episode, but I legitimately hope you guys are enjoying the series, because why wouldn't I? And I will see you tomorrow for another quick game in the 12 days of quick games. Have a good one, guys.